Good evening, citizens of Portsmouth. Thank you all for coming tonight to our City Council meeting. And also, I want to thank my colleagues here on City Council for being here as well. I would ask that everyone please stand for a moment of silence and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. And Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes.
Present.
Mr. Battle.
Here.
Mrs. Lucasberg.
Here.
Mr. Moody.
Here.
Dr. Whitaker.
Present.
Mr. Woodard.
Here.
Mayor Glover.
Here. Members of council, we have for our consideration the minutes of a called meeting on March 22nd, 2022, a regular meeting on March 22nd, 2022, and a called meeting on March 29th, 2022. Is there any discussion of the minutes? Seeing none, we're in need of a motion and second.
Move adoption. Second.
And Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes.
Yes.
Mr. Battle.
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg.
Yes.
Mr. Moody.
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Mr. Woodard.
Yes.
Mayor Glover.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Madam Clerk, would you please read our speaker statement?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, City Council rules require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 5 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks shall be directed to the City Council as a body rather than any particular member of City Council, staff, or the audience, and should be limited to matters that only the Portsmouth City Council can influence. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have now come to caption in our agenda of public hearings, item 22-106. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the public hearing item?
Yes, sir. Public hearing to solicit citizens on the Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan.
Thank you, ma'am. We do have a couple of speakers for this particular public hearing item, and our first speaker is Ms. Donna Sy. And ma'am, please state your address, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live in the Woodbine Farms neighborhood. 22-106 agenda item is a public hearing for citizens' comments on the Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. This is a forced plan that tells the city what it has to do with the money to get from the federal government. This plan is for poverty mindset of spend, spend, spends, not manage, manage, manage. This plan for the federal fiscal years 2019 to 2023 to implement federal funding programs that support housing, community, and economic development activities within Portsmouth. The federal government intends that communities develop a comprehensive vision that encompasses affordable housing, adequate infrastructure, fair housing, enhancement of civic design, basic economic development, combined with human development and a continuum of care for helping the homeless. The objectives and outcomes in the plan are the following: improve and expand the existing housing for low-income households with taxation from the people who pay taxes from his or her hard-earned money. Support improvements to public facilities and services from the people who pay taxes from his or her hard-earned money. improve, maintain, and expand infrastructure such as streets, storm, sewer, systems, and flood management. Support public service to end homelessness to benefit 50,000 people. Support economic development to create decent jobs. Support planning and administration of community and housing development activities, such as provide financial assistance to 12 first-time low-income homeowners. Support 15 people with rental assistance to prevent homelessness or rehouse them. Provide assistance to a certified community housing development organization to develop a unit to be sold to a low-income first-time buyer. Rehab 10 housing units occupied by elderly, low-income owners. Also on page 3, it reads, the City Council conducted public hearings on April the 12th and 26th to consider for the year 2022-23 annual action plan. This record is incorrect. The process for preparation of the plan involves outreach to PRHA, PHAC, which are responsible for implementation of the plan to end homelessness. The other city departments for public service to low-income people is the city planning department staff, which communicates with social services and behavioral health care services to identify priority needs, and opportunities for funds to support planning and programs. On page 5, it reads that an orientation meeting and first public hearing is held to explain the program and solicit input on the use of funds and priorities and objectives. Organizations were encouraged to meet with staff to discuss priorities and projects. Is this what the public hearing is about? Look at the organizational chart of the city. Where is the continual care on this chart? Where is the Portsmouth Homeless Advisory Consortium on the chart? How does the Portsmouth Volunteer for the Homeless work with these committees? I don't see any organizational structure on the chart to show how all is working together on the homeless issue in Portsmouth. The city staff needs to start using face-to-face communication and personal communication to build relationships instead of all this electronic impersonal method. Number one priority is to get the organizational structure created so communication will flow consistently throughout the city. Call a town hall, work session with the people, and get our city organized for communication with each and all areas of our city.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Mr. Freddie Taylor, Sr. Sir, if you come forward, please, and state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes. Sir, do you? Okay. Councilmember Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
I just want to address the question to our city manager pertaining to Ms. Donna Sy. We're still in works of expanding our homeless shelter, right?
Correct.
Right. Okay, so that's our take on ending homeless, doing our portion.
We have a multitude of events that we do to try to address homelessness in the city of Portsmouth.
Right, in conjunction with CDBG
Correct.
funds. Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Once again, this is a public hearing, and anyone that did not get an opportunity to sign up for the public hearing may come forward and state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes. Seeing none, this public hearing is closed. We have now come to item 22-107. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the public hearing for this item for this caption?
Yes, sir. Public hearing to consider the annual operating budget for FY 2023.
Thank you, ma'am. And we do have 3 registered speakers for this event, and our first speaker is Ms. Donna Sy. And ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy. I live in the Woodbine Farms neighborhood. Agenda item 22-107A is regarding the annual operating budget. The total revenue is $787,358,272. The total funding source is $784,000,000, I don't know how to read this stuff, $411.22. There is a shortage of $2,947,250 needed to manage our budget for the year 2022-2023. The shortage of almost $3 million in the operating budget is not only a shortage of funds in our city, the city is in debt approximately $41 million. Why? Another shortage is noted in the budget book on page 15-4. In the project categories with appropriations to date, it reports $441,760,044. For the means of financing, the total funding is $441,560,042. There is a $200,000 deficit for the year 2022-2023. Planned use of general fund balance in the operating budget is $15,413,416 to do the capital improvement projects. In the capital improvement projects, in the capital improvement section, the general fund is $16,633,516 for the capital improvement plan. So that is, the operation budget figures are different from the capital improvement plan figures to come out of the general fund. That equals more than $1,220,100 difference in what is in the general fund. So has anyone paid attention to how the figures are not adding up? This goes to show, spend, spend, spends, don't manage.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Mr. Levin Turner. Sir, please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. My name is Levin Turner, and I'm a 15-year employee of the city and the Executive Vice President of Local 539, which represents over 90% of the employees of the Fire, Rescue, and Emergency Services. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the men and women of IAFF Local 539, their families, and most importantly, the citizens of this community in which they serve. Our organization has maintained a consistent message of patient advocacy and enhancement of service delivery in order to meet the growing needs of our community. This is the reason our local works so hard with many of you to advocate for collective bargaining, as it is allowed now in state code. Collective bargaining would have given us, our frontline employees, a seat at the table to ensure the community's safety, and their support from our members was always a top priority. In my 10 years of leadership on the executive board of Local 539, I have witnessed much turnover in various management positions that has been nearly impossible to set consistent goals and achieve desired outcomes. In 2009, City Council approved a public safety pay plan that brought our public safety to 85% of market value. Since that plan was only funded twice, it contributed to a significant pay compression problem. That plan was never fully funded and has since been done away with. Now I ask you to look at the budget at a glance sheet and the attachments that I brought for you this evening. What you will see highlighted is that in 2017, it was again identified that there was a need for a multi-step initiative to improve public safety retention and recruitment. No such initiative has been implemented. We have seen a couple of market-based starting salary adjustments, which were appropriate, but it has only further contributed to our pay compression. We are now in a situation where 85% of our employees are within 10% of starting salary in their pay grades. That compression has led to multiple tenured employees with over 25 years of service that have not even reached median salary, showing all of our employees that top salary is unattainable in Portsmouth, unlike in other Hampton Roads jurisdictions that have found it imperative to retain and recruit public safety employees and have since implemented comprehensive public safety pay plans in the middle of their budget year this past January and March. You will also see in our executive summary that we are asking for a starting salary adjustment for our paramedics. Our paramedic base salary is 25% below value in Hampton Roads, which has become quite apparent since 12 of the 17 paramedics hired since 2019 have sought employment elsewhere. Fixing pay compression and adjusting paramedics' starting salary can stop the alarming hemorrhage of employees we are already losing to neighboring departments and the private sector. There's a saying in leadership philosophy that I would like you to consider. It's a quote from Richard Branson. Train people well enough so they can leave. Treat them well enough so they don't want to. Our employees are our greatest asset, and in our line of business, experience matters. Without our employees, ambulances and fire trucks go out of service and calls for help don't get answered. We've been there before, and we are headed back there now. In closing, over the last 15 years of my career, I've spoken with many of you about the concerns our local has had and still has. I've also had the opportunity to work side by side with many of you in advocacy for the betterment of service delivery and maintaining the highest standards of care that our community not only deserves, but so desperately needs. I'm here once again to ask you for your support and your assistance. It is imperative that we recruit and retain the best public safety personnel for our community. And to do that, we ask that you direct the city manager to implement our comprehensive public safety compression adjustment as shown in our executive summary. I would like to ask that the people in support of this initiative please rise. I thank you again for your time and consideration. Have a great evening.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Miss Joanne Clark. And ma'am, if you would state your name and address, well, certainly your address, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and staff. Joanne Clark. I live in the Churchland neighborhood. I often would repeat this phrase to the previous administration. Make those who are near happy, and those from afar will come. If the citizens are being overburdened by infrastructure costs and needs, not to mention a pandemic and inflation, we certainly have some issues to talk about with the budget. Number one, what do you usually tell your family members when they want to buy something expensive? Well, maybe we should follow a budget, but we should pay off our debts first. We have $1.6 million annual debt service. Nobody's really talking about that $1.6 million debt service. That's like the interest rate on your Visa card. It's not really doing anything. It's paying the banks, but it's not paying us. If you look at that for 5 years, you're talking $8 million. Now, on the news I heard today that the city of Chesapeake was lowering their tax rate at 9 cents. Instead, we are raising ours at 9 cents. If you got rid of the debt service in 5 years, we wouldn't have this issue. We want some nice things. We want to attract business and people. But we have sewers that are bubbling up above ground. We have crumbling storm drains and water mains. Our infrastructure is old, but worse than that, it hasn't been maintained. These are our assets. We need to maintain our assets with everything available to us, and it should be a priority because we have maxed our debt, as we had seen at the previous work session. We are very close to exceeding that ceiling. We can only go but so far. It's like maxing out those credit cards. After you do, what then? Usually the next step is bankruptcy. So I hope that you all maybe put your frugal hats on and think about how we're going to pay for the $384 million of sewer needs, water infrastructure needs, roads that look like alligators the way the pavement is coming apart, potholes that are throughout the city that we're responsible for, and the fact that we need to completely fill all of our open spots or employments available for our emergency, fire, emergency, and police. We've known that. We know it's important. Crime is an important issue, and we all want the same things. We want to live in safe neighborhoods. We want to have clean water and air, and we want to feel proud of our cities. We don't want to see it crumbled. So I implore you, put on your little frugal hats and think twice, because we have yet to even determine what our investment at this casino will even do for us. We don't know. And until we know, that's one of our bigger debts that still haven't come to fruition. There's a lot of unknowns out there. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Again, this is a public hearing, and anyone who did not have an opportunity to sign up earlier, this is now your opportunity to come forward and speak on this public hearing matter. State your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Freddie Taylor Sr. I reside in the Churchland area on Hawthorne Lane.
Good evening, sir.
I just want to be sure, what we're speaking on, is it 22-106?
22-107, which is the public hearing to consider the annual operating budget, FY 2023, sir.
Okay. Well, I believe I signed up for this because they said they called my name, sir. I just have a couple of questions. Upon looking upon the website, I found the things that you guys had placed up for the community developmental block grant concerning
Sir, that public hearing has been closed. You were not present when we called your name. That public hearing is closed. So we are now on public hearing, item 22-107. That is the public hearing that you are able to speak on.
Right, it is talking about the annual operating budget, correct?
It is talking about 22-107 is talking about
I understand that. So
the
that's
annual
what-
operating. 22-106
I understand that. It's
was
about
talking
the operating
CDBG.
budget, correct?
Yes,
All right.
sir.
Now, as I said, I looked upon y'all website, upon y'all stats and stuff, to see what you guys had done, because the plan was supposed to run from, 19 to 2023, 2024, or 2024, the fiscal year, the plan that y'all put out? That was the whole plan,
That's the
right?
block grant, sir. That's the CDBG block grant.
Right.
That we were, this is not specific to the block grant.
Right, this is about the operating.
This is specific to the operating budget, sir.
Okay.
So I would ask you, please, to stay on task with what we're asking specifically. And that is the operating budget. We have covered the block grant, and we have closed that meeting. So if you'd like to talk about other things within the budget that is proposed for FY 2023, that is what 22-107 is pertaining to.
Okay, I understand that. So I have here the accomplished things that you have did under the other operating procedure, which helped transfer over to this one. My only question is, I see everything that y'all were doing, but there's a missing part for operating costs of $224,235. And I just want to know, where was y'all going to use these funds at in this new fiscal year? Because you had the opportunity before to show the allocation of it for the operating procedures, but there is, on the statement that you guys released online, you put 100,000 NA, because it has the accomplishment, it says NA, $117,913 NA, and then 6,322 NA. And these were for operating costs within the city for the fiscal year. And my question was, what happened to those funds? Because I looked online, there is no statement anywhere online to show where those funds are. That's all I'm asking, like, where did the money go to?
Sir, I explained to you, we previously had that presentation. If you would like to remain after the meeting, we can get that detailed information for you perhaps. But right now, that presentation has ended.
Yes,
So
sir.
I would ask you one more time to please adhere.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Have
sir.
a good evening.
You too, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
may I, when I get to...
Councilmember Battle, you have the floor, sir.
I hope I can put all the myths to rest, because we have a lot of myths that continue to come here meeting after meeting. And this myth is that all of our debt and debt service is responsible through this council. This is the furthest thing from the truth that has ever existed in our city. Let me go through a few things for you. We built the Renaissance Hotel. At the onset, the price was $28 million. The ending price was $48 million. We built I.C. Norcom High School. At the onset, the price was $23 million. It ended up $53 million. We just pulled a bond of $30 million and had $40 million to go with it for the infrastructure. We just rented a building for $33 million for 7 years. And as a caveat for the owner, the council voted to allow the owner to add the additional space needed to make the building functionable for our public safety people. Now, these things didn't just happen. None of this happened on any of this council's watch. Yet, consistently, we have folk who come and try to pin these things on this council, which is furthest from the truth. Now, I like to ask those folk, where were they? When, not being on council, I was sounding all the alarms for what was transpiring. Now, let's talk about crime. If you don't take care of your youth and develop them and have the programs in place, this is the results. See, we spend money on things that are not comparable to the success of a city. We do things, the folk in the past, not this council, that were detrimental to the city. And that has happened constantly in the last 20, 30 years. Yet nobody comes to talk about that. They come to talk about $200,000. What happened to this $41,000? This is some of the things that has been happening. For the first time, we have put programs in place to help develop our youth. But see, it's about all of you, not just our youth. At every stage of development for human beings, we have to have programs, reentry programs. counseling, all types of assistance programs. Once we catch on to that and put these things in place, which we're doing one step at a time. You see, how we got here took 30 years. And although we've started, we won't recoup our society for another 3 to 5 years. We know our kids can't read, 70 to 80% of them. Now, everybody's got a degree or another, but what happened with attacking the program, putting it in place to help these kids read? It's as simple as $1 million+ putting things in place that all 3-year-olds can be dropped off to, whether they can go to the restroom or not, to be taught how to read at that age. You get a fast turnaround. It's going to happen in 2 years. So let me say it again. Please don't try to stick this council with any type of nefarious financial situations, because this was built long before and just before we got here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Once again, this is a public hearing. Anyone who did not have a chance to sign up prior to the public hearing, this is now your time to come forward to speak on this matter, item 22-107. Seeing none, this public hearing is closed. Madam Clerk, would you please read the public hearing item that is up next?
Yes, sir. Public hearing on the recommended 2023 through 2027 capital improvement program.
Thank you, ma'am. This is item B, 22-107, item B, and it is a public hearing, and we have 2 speakers. For item B, we have Ms. Donna Sy. And ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live in the Woodbine Farms neighborhood. Agenda item 22-107B regards the capital improvement plan for the year 2023 to 2027. Let us review some of the entries that are using the general fund that needs to be deleted from the capital improvement plan. Page 15-48, facility assessment plan for $2,200,000. This plan is going to use general obligation bonds for over $2 million without any explanation of what this plan entails. This is a prime example of making a debt with no explanation. Another thing, the city doesn't employ people who can make assessments and use staff to fix things without borrowing money. Remove this item out of the CIP plan. On page 15-50, remove the new career technical education school. This school is not needed because TCC has first college program and also a career and technical education program. So this is spending of taxpayers' money for something the city already has, is wasting taxpayers' money. Apply this $2 million out of the general fund balance to pay on the $41 million debt the city has. Page 15-51, remove the new K-8 facility for planned use of fund balance of $3 million. Apply the $3 million and the $2 million to the debt of $41 million to decrease the debt to $36 million. How much money did the school board waste on doing a school facility study? The company did not do a school facility study to fix the schools. They did, I want a new school study. It was, I don't care if Portsmouth is a poverty-stricken city. I want what I want. I don't want to take care of anything. After all, the school enrollment is decreasing, along with the population in Portsmouth. We don't need to spend money on a K-8 school. Organize the schools we have to do the job. Page 15-52, various schools improvement for $8 million being paid out of the general fund balance, but doesn't report what schools need improvement. What were the ARPA funds used for? Apply this $8 million general fund balance to the $36 million debt to decrease the city's debt to $28 million. Page 1554, city's gateway and multimodal corridors serve as the front door to citizens and visitors to the city. The beautification and maintenance of our gateway is a priority. The funding of over $1 million for the project, and so far, $1,458,000 has been appropriated, with $50,000 being used for construction. Construction of what? No more spending on whatever someone has planned without our consent. Portsmouth is an industrial city. It is a working poverty class city, spending money and not getting anything in return. $13 million has been wasted so far. Page 1555, same thing to use the fund balance of $350,000. Page 1556, 2 buildings on Crawford Street have been demolished because a company reneged on its deal to the city. Why is this still in the CIP plan? The city hoards money to keep money in secret. How come the city has $1 million coming from the general fund to apply to this demolition? Page 1557, the Crawford Street roundabout, issuing a bond for over $516,000. So there's a bunch of debts all going on here. Public safety facilities master plan for $1,800,000 with a preliminary $250,000. The city does not need a public safety master plan since there's already a plan in place. Well, you already heard about that. Apply this $1.8 million towards rehabilitating the Civic Center and put the Department of Police back in their home. Treat our police force like second-class citizens. The law enforcement is the second level of need after the first, which is survival. And we need to be involved in decision-making.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Battle, sir, you have the floor.
As a caveat, I could go on all night long, but I don't, and I won't. But I've always respected you and anything you've ever said. I've never disrespect you, and I won't
Ma'am?
disrespect you. Now, we have a jail that we pay for 250 beds, whether we got people there or not. That's equivalent to $6 million a year. We could have built 3 jails for the term of we've been tied up in that contract. Now, there have been some positive things, such as behavior health care building. That's 2-floor, beautiful building. $10 million was the cost.
Ms. Sy, ma'am, ma'am, you're out of order, ma'am. Ma'am,
A lot of times,
any more outbursts, and you're going to be removed from the chamber.
a lot of
Okay.
times,
Thank you.
the truth is the last thing people want to hear. And the truth hurts, and I understand that. So I'm going to fold, but just remember that the debt and the problems that this city has, this council is trying to straighten it out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker, Ms. Joanne Clark.
I wasn't sure whether to pick A, B, or C, so I'm done.
Thank you, ma'am. Once again, this is a public hearing, and if you did not get a chance to speak prior to this, this is your opportunity to come forward. You just need to state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes. Seeing none, then this public hearing is now closed. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the next public hearing item?
Yes, sir. A public hearing on proposed changes to rates and levies for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023.
Thank you, ma'am. And we do have registered speakers for this item. Ms. Donna Sy. Ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live in the Woodbine Farms neighborhood. Agenda item 22-107C is to increase the rates and taxation on the people for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023, because the city budget team, do y'all know who they are? The city manager, the planning director, deputy city manager, engineering and technical services manager, deputy city manager, and chief financial officer, the budget officer, and the 2 budget analysts do not care about the people they are supposed to be looking out for, and they don't have the skills to organize and plan the resources of our city. Since this team had failed to manage the resources and debt, the people have to be taxed without any representation. If this team did his or her job with managing the people's money, instead of spending it, they would fix Churchland Elementary School and save $70 million by not building a new school, sell the Sportsplex and save $65 million, repair City Hall and restore the Civic Center, put the police back in their home, save $78 million by taking the new public safety complex out of the budget, repair the fire stations and do not build a new one, fix the County Street garage for the people to park for entertainment, and save $24 million. See all the above spending of the taxpayers' money without the people's consent? This excess spending is causing our real estate taxes to be increased in certain areas of the city, 8%. Spending the above money is causing the operating budget to be increased 10%. In addition to spending money the budget doesn't have, the utility bills will be increasing, with the water 5.1 cents per 1,000 gallons, sewer $6.37 per 1,000 gallons of water. Stormwater fee will be $13.50 equivalent residential unit. All the increases in taxation is coming from the inefficient management of the people's money. Our budget management team needs someone who has the ability to organize and put in place a system of structure and function to prevent continuing the burden of taxation without representation. All this debt from excess spending is causing our crime and violence in the city. Delay the vote until the budget team meets with the people to adjust the debts to prevent the increase in taxation.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker, Ms. Joanne Clark. Thank you, ma'am. Once again, this is a public hearing. If there is anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and speak on this particular public hearing, you will have 5 minutes. Seeing none, this item is closed. And was that item C? Okay. We now have come to item 22-108, public hearing application. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the agenda item and resolution we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. UP 2204, Downtown, resolution granting the request of Edward Walker of Court Street Entertainment, LLC, for a use permit for an entertainment establishment at 467 Court Street in the downtown D1 T5 zoning subdistrict. The Bill 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan's future land use map designates this property as mixed use downtown.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm not done.
Yes, ma'am.
The resolution reads, a resolution granting a use permit UP 2204 to Court Street Entertainment LLC to operate an entertainment establishment at 467 Court Street. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is the applicant present? Sir, would you please come forward? State your name and address, and you have 10 minutes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Teddy Walker, Edward Walker, I guess. I live in the back of Hatton Point on Wise Beach. I am the owner of Old Town Public House, which is the bottom right restaurant. Last year, I guess during COVID, we bought the building, which was a good move for mortgage, rent, that whole thing. Well, the upstairs just happened to be, at one point, it was a Masonic lodge that had these multiple levels that had ballrooms. And prior to me getting the building, there was a nightclub there. So we got it. And the idea was to try to come up with something that was had more longevity. So we came up with doing the wedding venue, and that's what we're looking to do. We want to use it as a rental space. There'll be two different levels. The second floor will have a bar social area, and it goes into a ballroom area, which will be for any kind of banquet. It could be a wedding, or it could be something different. And then there will be a third and a fourth floor. We'll have two other areas that are bar areas. And then it also has its own ballroom as well. Each floor can fit, I guess the second floor would be around 150 people. If it was at a table, a round table seating section to be, serve food, dinner. If it was just in general, you could probably put 350 people on each floor. The top level would sit a little bit more people. Currently, we're looking to open up the second floor first. Have a lot of people looking to rent the venue and use it for weddings, baby showers, bridal, anything. People have been asking for a lot of different reasons. So it kind of can change a little because it seems as though the smaller groups for like baby shower type groups, they're kind of popular. So I'm getting a lot of requests for that. So we're looking to just kind of create a little, diversity with what we're doing as far as how we rent it, but trying to stay away from any kind of nightclub, which I know Portsmouth in the past hasn't really liked at this location. I've heard it brought up a lot. Yeah, so if y'all have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Are there any questions from my colleagues on council? Councilmember Battle, sir, you have the floor.
Is that on the corner? Or is in there a place on the corner that's a club?
TCC. That's the old TCC building to the right. So to the left is the Broker Bank Company. Then you have Gino's Pizza, and then there's Chapman Lawyers. And then across the street is the
Portsmouth Cultural Arts Center.
Oh, yes, the Art Center. And so we just recently did a St. Patrick's Day festival right there in the middle of the road, I guess a few weeks ago. And we involved the farmers market. They were all in there. And we had a band out there. Similar stuff we could do with just the restaurant. I wouldn't recommend doing anything as far as a lot of people drinking upstairs, because what we have done, all these aesthetics have changed. We exposed the brick instead of the gold. The upholstery's gone. The booths have been reupholstered for, more of a wedding setting, I guess. The bar areas now all have paneling, board and batten, been painted. It's kind of nice. There's sconces, so it's not really like a bar scene. So we were talking about it because people keep asking if somebody, say we did have a bar open on Friday. Well, what if you have a wedding on Saturday and somebody punches a hole in the wall? How you gonna fix it? So we're just not even interested. We just don't want to do it. And I know a lot of people want us to, but we're just not gonna happen.
Councilman Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
All right, how you doing, Teddy?
Doing well.
Like I say, this is probably one of the most successful, diverse bars down there. You run a tight shift. I love everything you do here at Public House. I just want you to be successful. I think this council wants you to be successful as well, especially in our business district area. So, but my question is, will there be any days that your bar downstairs and that top floor be in conjunction? You know, have any events or whatnot?
There could be. The issue is what I was just referring to. Like, a lot of people want to talk about that particular subject. The ballroom areas will always be designated just for weddings, and that's the big areas. The bar areas are 1,000 square foot areas, about this big. So you're looking 50 to 70 people, not anything like a club. So you could do something like that, and I've done this for a long time. I could easily manage that. But it still comes to the point of, if there was an issue, something happened, how do you fix it if you have a scheduled wedding or an event? It could be a city event, it could be a Christmas party, and then they come in. I can put a picture over it, I could do something tacky, but it does pose a little bit of an issue. But yeah, the second floor bar with the downstairs area is really 3,000 square foot total. It's smaller than the last restaurant I ran.
Well, like I say, I want you to be successful, and I think that with proper planning and incorporating the city, I welcome you to do those things, especially when we have big events. A Sunset Thursday, we have any St. Patrick's Day festival. I think that's just something that if you incorporate that with our city manager, it can bring a lot of people here. So I don't want you to be short-sighted in what you can do.
And I'm not, but we're hearing a lot of people talk about safety currently.
Well, the thing is,
in the area,
you've been proven to run a well-respected business, and
I have, and it's still hard.
Absolutely.
So it's still harder, and it's gotten better. More police officers we've hired, but been handicapped, so I have security every night.
Right.
And I'm a restaurant. I don't feel like I should have to do that, but I do that. And upstairs, we would accommodate whatever needs we needed for any type of business, like any type of rental service we used. And yeah, daytime, festival events, they're normally a little more easygoing and it's fun. You got a lot of different tangibles going on that you could use and enjoy it. I think it's safer. And, we had St. Patty's Day, 8, 9 police officers working outside anyway with security inside. Okay. And the idea, anywhere you go today, it has to be safe. Right. We went to, where was it? And I never went. I did it because it looked like this building, the Norva.
Okay.
And I never went. I thought it was great. It was bigger. But that would be a cool thing. But that is also, they had a lot of security and they handled things right. And they do that.
Like I say, with the proper planning, talking to the city manager or whatnot, I think, it could be something that we can evaluate in seeking our city hosts certain things at this venue. But I have one more other question. Has there been any complaints from any of your neighbors of possibly you going on this venture right here of having a rental area for citizens?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I think basically, based off me running downstairs, they're pretty excited about it. I haven't heard a lot of complaints. Only thing I've heard is about the prior, nightclub and how they managed that. And I don't know how to explain it to everybody. I've worked in a nightclub. A lot of people that own some. Some people do well at it. Some people don't want to. Right. And I don't know what the situation was with that current nightclub, but it didn't end well.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. And Councilwoman Lucas Burke, you have the floor, ma'am.
Hey, Teddy, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Great. I had a big number birthday party here a couple of years ago when it was a club.
Yeah.
It's a great venue for this type of rental, and I know people are looking for spaces to have bridal showers and different things like that. So I think that this would work really well, especially with your restaurant that you're running there. They already know the continuity of what you can supply. My question is, one that came up when it was a club. The people who live in that area have designated parking, and you mentioned holding 150 to 300 people at some of the events that you would have. How is that parking, and what are you utilizing to accommodate visitors and guests?
Sure. And we talked about this. This came up recently, and I think I was speaking with the business administrator or association in Portsmouth, because they have the farmers market on Saturday. They also have, in the parking garage, there's a flea market. So there's two going on. And my concern was, where would they park? Where would people park? So we counted the spots in the parking garage. Saturday was the biggest day, and that's when those two things are going on. There's still room in that parking garage to house the people that would come for a wedding on Saturday. With the flea market, and we're only referring to the second floor currently, so there was 2 weddings, time staggered. We're going to re-look into that when that comes. That could be the end of the year before I get to that, though. But that was a big question, and it really it seems like there's plenty of parking right now, but there's definitely, like, the farmers market wants to grow. I'm sure the flea market wants to. The TCC building, I heard there's a plan for restaurants there and other things. So, you know, big picture, there's probably going to be need for more parking eventually. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. All good?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Once again, this is a public hearing, and if you did not have an opportunity to sign up to speak on this matter, now is your opportunity to sign up to speak. You will be required to state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this public hearing item? Seeing none, then this public hearing is closed. Members of council, is there any additional comments or questions? Seeing none, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Thank you, sir. We have now come to the agenda item, City Manager's Report. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance we are considering pertaining to this item, item 22-109.
Yes, sir. An ordinance to amend Division 1 of Article 7 of Chapter 22 of the Code of the City of Portsmouth, Virginia, one-way streets by amending sections 22-451, 452, and 453 to clarify the process for establishing one-way streets.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are needing of a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 22-110. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting funding in the amount of $1,000 from the Virginia Department of Social Services and appropriating said amount in the FY 2022 Social Services Fund for Child Abuse Prevention Public Awareness Activities.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion on this matter? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 22-111. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting with appreciation a donation in the amount of $200 from the Portsmouth chapter of the National Drifters Incorporated and appropriating said funds to the FY 2022 Social Services Fund for use by the Department of Social Services to support the food pantry.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a
Motion to
second.
approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 22-112. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance to reappropriate funds in the amount of $547,023 that were encumbered but unexpended prior to July 1, 2021 from the FY 2021 Portsmouth Public Schools General Fund budget to the FY 2022 Portsmouth Public Schools General Fund budget.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any additional comments or discussion on this matter? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 22-113. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance to appropriate grant funds in the amount of $71,846,799 to the FY 2022 Portsmouth Public Schools Grants Fund budget.
Council members, we are in need of a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 22-114. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance to appropriate the value of USDA donated commodities in the amount of $450,000 to the FY 2022 Portsmouth Public Schools Food Services Fund budget.
Thank you, ma'am. We are in need of a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion on this matter? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 22-115. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. A resolution authorizing the conveyance of approximately 2,081 square feet of property having an address of 1227 Holland Road in Suffolk and the grant of an adjacent temporary construction easement encompassing approximately 1,750 square feet to the city of Suffolk in furtherance of culvert rehabilitation project.
Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion in this matter?
Yes, can you have the city manager to elaborate on that a little more?
Madam Manager, ma'am, you have the floor.
Yes, the City of Suffolk is performing a culvert rehabilitation project along Turlington Road and has requested the conveyance of 2,081 square feet of property having an address of 1227 Holland Road, along with an adjacent temporary construction easement encompassing approximately 1,750 square feet. These types of arrangements between surrounding jurisdictions occur pretty frequently since that we share water and
Okay.
so forth.
So that's that area near the lake, stuff like that?
Yes.
So- Okay.
Councilman Battle, sir, you have the floor.
Miss Manager, are they going to remember they owe us one?
We'll make sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. We've now come to the agenda item of new business, item 22-116, boards and commissions. Vice Mayor Barnes and Dr. Whitaker, are there any appointments to bring forward this time?
No.
Thank you, sirs. Also, item 22-117, items submitted by council. Council members, is there any additional items you wish to submit? Vice Mayor Barnes, sir, you have the floor.
Just one for me. I just wanted to inform everybody that we are having the PIT at Churchland High School starting tomorrow. That's a big event for the city of Portsmouth, and it's also a big event for a lot of college students with helping their career path of going to professional basketball. So if you can go support and show that Portsmouth really supports this event, I'll say please do so. I myself will be taking a a group of kids to the game. So hopefully you see you there.
Thank you, sir. And Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
Yes, for the city manager, where are we on the disparity study?
The latest is we've heard from the contractor that was selected that they want to establish a website to attract, to provide information and also attract feedback. But I'll give a more detailed report back as to where that is. That's just a quick summary, but there's more detail to that.
So have they started collecting the data from the city? Has the city started transferring data to them?
I'm sure that it has, but I want to make sure I give a report back of all that's going on so that it's complete. And it's not just based off the top of my memory.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Jones? Well, first of all, are there any other additional pending items? Councilmember Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
Pending, okay. Yeah, pending items. Yeah, I just wanted to see could we continue to get that report back on what's going on McLean with the Miller Group. I haven't received that as of yet.
My apologies, it is coming. I will make sure that I hit that send button when I leave out of here tonight.
Okay, all right. And just want to, if this is appropriate, just wanted to talk about a resident of Portsmouth, Mr. Robert Holloman. He turned 100 years old on April the 3rd. I attended his birthday party, and he was so excited to know that the city of Portsmouth was recognizing him. I was there on behalf of Vice Mayor Barnes, but also our Mayor Shannon Glover, to present him with his just get on the mic. Just get on. Just get on the mic. Proclamation. There we go. Okay. His proclamation, and he was excited. And one thing about Mr. Holloman, he was a Vietnam veteran. He also worked for the city of Portsmouth, and he was a activist in his community. He cleaned up trash, and he made sure he took care of the youngers. And I think we miss that type of leadership nowadays. But you can see right now, God was looking over him because he made it to 100. He's a centennial? It's centennial. So we are glad that we were there to present him with his proclamation. So I just wanted to give him a shout out.
Thank you, sir. And Councilmember Moody has something to mention, then you, Vice Mayor. Okay, if you want to continue that conversation, go ahead, sir, please.
Well, he also forgot to mention that he's from Dale Homes. But he had reached out to me about that, and I want to thank Councilman Woodard for actually attending that for me. I had to go out of town, so I couldn't get to it. So I definitely appreciate you attending that event.
No problem at all.
Great work, sirs. Councilmember Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, I attended a crime community meeting about crime that was actually a regional meeting held here in the council chamber. I believe the mayor was there, myself. If I missed anybody, please speak up. But it was a good, Pastor Randall did a great job in organizing the meeting. There was a panel. Police Chief Prince was on the panel, and a lot of good ideas came out of the meeting. One constant theme is that communities need to stay involved in their communities and participate in trying to alleviate the crime wave that's going on, not only in Portsmouth, but throughout the country. But the meeting was very well attended, and hopefully there will be some additional meetings. I think the more we converse, more we meet, and keep the topic going, and let the people committing the crimes know that the communities are organized and not going to tolerate it, I think the better off we'll be, and we'll see the crime rate go down as a result. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Battle, sir, you have the floor.
I, too, will be carrying, well, I'll be sending a bunch of kids to the PIT. Some of the folk that work with me in the community with our youth, they'll be carrying them on my behalf. I attended a behavior health care meeting this week, and I was proud to let you know that what they requested in the budget was granted, and quite a few people will be helped from the sums that they've asked it for this year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And certainly tomorrow is a big event in the city of Portsmouth. It is our Portsmouth State of the City Address. It will be taking place at 12 o'clock noon at the Renaissance Hotel. And it is an opportunity for our citizens, our businesses, all of the folks in the city of Portsmouth to come out and hear what your leadership is doing to move Portsmouth forward. We are excited, and we're looking forward to seeing everyone in attendance. There is still an opportunity to buy tickets. They can be purchased through the chamber. But see us after the event if you would like to come, and perhaps we can help you be present. Look forward to seeing everybody, and thank you as citizens for all you do to make our city better. With that, we have now come to item 22-119, which is registered speakers, non-agenda speakers. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the speaker statement for us?
Yes, sir. City council rules require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 5 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks shall be directed to the city council as a body rather than any particular member of the city council, staff, or the audience, and should be limited to matters that only the Portsmouth City Council can influence. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yes.
Our first speaker is Mr. Bruce Lalonde. Mr. Lalonde, sir, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Bruce Lalonde, I'm the president of the Safety Town Advisory Committee, and it's a pleasure here to take a few moments to talk to you about Portsmouth Safety Town and to invite City Council, staff, Portsmouth residents, and friends of Safety Town to join us for an open house re-grand opening that we're going to have on Saturday, April 30th from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Since 1975, the Portsmouth Safety Town, under the leadership of the police department, with strong and focused partnership from the fire department, sheriff, and school superintendent, has provided a magical and safe educational environment for kindergartners, first graders, and third graders to learn stranger danger, pedestrian, bus, train, and bicycle safety. Recently, we have added gun safety awareness to our inventory of topics. 2 years ago, with the approval of the police chief at the time and guidance from the sheriff, superintendent, and fire chief, the Portsmouth Safety Town Advisory Committee established a nonprofit 501c3 to further enhance the goodness being delivered by Safety Town. Geico, Starbucks, Mission Continues, the Portsmouth Boat Club, Mercy Drops, Portsmouth Plumbing, and over 100 Portsmouth citizens and businesses have donated money and volunteers to support our Portsmouth safety education efforts. The pandemic taught us, however, that we need to be more responsive and flexible in providing safety training. We are regularly challenged by child and elder daycare centers, Boy Scout and Girl Scout groups, and church groups to provide safety courses involving a myriad of life challenges. The reason for the open house is not only to show off one of the most amazing and positive aspects and assets in Portsmouth, but to help the nonprofit to raise money for a van to allow us to go to those who have asked us for our help. So please join us on April 30th to see one of the, we don't want to be one of the best kept secrets that we have in Portsmouth on 4404 Deep Creek Boulevard. In closing, the Portsmouth Advisory Committee, McGruff the crime dog, Eddie the Eagle, want to give special thanks to Parks and Rec for maintaining the grounds as beautiful as they are, to the fire department for maintaining a presence now at the site so we do have the grounds open as much as possible, and for the police department, and particularly Chief Prince for his support, and also the K-9 group, which is right next to us, which helps us provide security. So thank you, and I'll take any questions, but please, we'd love to have you at the grand opening, or in the open house.
Councilman Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Bruce Lalonde, for all your hard work throughout the city. I know you gave us the event hours. What is the regular schedule hours of Safety Town?
It's, right now, there is no regular hours, and we're working on that. We're open right now just to accommodate the school system with their kindergartners, first graders, and third graders. So we've had a program since February. It'll probably go through May to have the children out there, but normally it's a morning schedule. All right, sir, and I can provide you the schedule the schools has provided us.
Right, yeah, I think we'll need that so we can get it out to the community.
All right, sir, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Marissa Adams. Marissa Adams.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
I'm Marissa Adams. I live in the Cavalier Manor section. I like to refrain from putting my address on the record, but it's public record. I really didn't want to come down here to speak, to be honest. I just sometimes want to just come to attend a meeting. But some things have happened in my family and my household, so I said I might as well come down here. Now, I want to thank the city, but I will be remiss if I didn't speak about a few other things real fast, if y'all don't mind. And so when I came down here last council meeting, I jokingly, after the meeting, said to Mr. Woodard, I flew here, I didn't grow here. And it was a joke, but I was dead serious. And I said that because I had been out and about in the community, and Portsmouth is very cliquish, you know, and it could be a deterrent for people who want to get involved with the community, or people who want to see the betterment of the community, or people like myself who believe in the potential and see the potential of the city. And so that is why I jokingly said that, but I was dead serious. And for a millisecond during that time, during that week, it was about a good 2-week span, I started to doubt why I take so much pride in Portsmouth. I started to doubt why I have so much belief in what City Council could do because of some of the experiences I was having in the community while trying to be involved and be a part of change. And so after I said that, I was like, man, Marissa, you can't be going out in public saying that kind of stuff, especially not down at City Council. I also took solace in knowing that there's a few people, not many up here, who aren't natives, and it doesn't change the impact that they do. Ms. Jones is a good example of that. It doesn't change the impact, it doesn't change the level of service not being a native. So I'm trying not to be deterred by that as I step out of anonymity and begin to really immerse myself within the community. Lately, I've been going to back-to-back community meetings on the weekends. Basically, I'd be gone all the time. Initially, it was just me by myself, but now I bring my kids along. And at first, it was a drag for them. They didn't want to come. They said, Mom, that's your thing. We don't want to do that. We want to watch cartoons. We want to do X, Y, X, Y, Z. But now they happily join me when I say we're going to go attend a community event this Saturday. We might attend 2. One day, we attended 3 on a Saturday. That's neither here nor there. But with that being said, I'm watching as my children are beginning to also take pride in their community and in their city. And that is a bigger thing to me than anything that I can ever imagine for myself as an adult, is my children. 2 out of 3 of my children were born here. 1 in Norfolk, 1 in Portsmouth, my baby girl. Went to school at the Head Start right there on Cavalier Boulevard, close to Greenwood. Before there was a 7-Eleven there, my son went there. My daughter, on the other hand, she went to Head Start in Geneva Square, and then she went, I think that's what it's called, but she also went to Head Start at the Cavalier Manor Rec Center. And so for them to grow up and have parents who are not natives but live and have been born and raised in Portsmouth, and to now begin to take pride in the city, is something that just makes my heart explode. And so to that same point, speaking of my youngest daughter, she was hit by a car crossing the street in our neighborhood, and that's what brought me down to City Council. I have been watching them. I had attended a few, but I really came down here. That was the first time I ever spoke publicly in this room on this forum. And I remember it like it was yesterday, because I remember when it happened, the neighbors, I was so upset with the response and everything that was going on, and I told the neighbors, I'm going down to City Council to talk to them about putting some stop signs and some speed bumps. They laughed in my face. One of the ladies is very heavily connected, even married to a judge, and I'm like, what? These are older people, and I've already told this story again, so I won't drum you down with it. But I came down here, and now as of last month, after a long 8 months, everything is completely closed with that situation. The lady was found guilty finally after not attending 2 court hearings. She was found guilty for failure to yield to a pedestrian. So it's completely closed. My daughter, when we take our walks throughout the neighborhood, she still kind of tenses up and things when we walk down Rotunda Drive. She has not rode her bike ever since that has happened. So when the lady, because she had to go to court for the hearing for the lady to be found guilty, the lady didn't come, but whatever. That day, I took her and we walked from my house to the corner of Rotunda and Crystal Lake Drive. And the reason why I bring that up is there's a sign there now that wasn't there before I came down and spoke at City Council, and it says "Watch for Children." And I took her to that sign, and we stood in front of that sign, and we talked about what it is to come down, or anywhere in that matter, and speak up for yourself. I reminded her that it was not her fault that what happened, and that we need to be cautious, but we also need to believe in the powers that be and trust the powers that be to handle the things. And it doesn't mean because you can articulate yourself, you're always going to get it right, or that people are going to hear what you have to say. But for this particular situation, that was my experience. I came down here and articulated my grievances. Not only did signs get put up in my neighborhood,
Please.
on that street, but they're all throughout the neighborhood. I like to thank the Sergeant at Arms. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I know how to spell it, R-O-T-E-N. I don't know if it's rotten, rodent, but when I came down here and spoke, he got on it, and he got connected to some people, and I talked to some people with the police department. The lady was cited. That was something that she was not done initially, and it really got the ball rolling on action. So thank you all for what it is that you do. I know the streets is talking. I try to stay up out of that. I want to be a part of the change and not the negativity. So thank you all for what you do and what this council has done with this situation in particular pertaining to my daughter.
You're welcome, ma'am. Thank you.
Can we applaud our Sergeant at Arms?
I think that's appropriate, sir, if you would like to make that recommendation.
I think it's appropriate for us to give some accolades to our Sergeant at Arms.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Cedric Cradle. Mr. Cradle, sir, you have 5 minutes.
Excuse me. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager, and other officials. First and foremost, we come before you to first thank the City Manager, Deputy City Manager, Mr. Moore, also Assistant Chief Jenkins and his the other assistants for the wonderful meeting that they had on March the 16th, for the meeting with the mothers and families whose sons and daughters were killed due to gun violence. We got so much accomplished during that time. It was the first ever meeting between the citizens and the city manager. So I thought that was something great. Families were given resources to grieving, mental health counseling, same day access to social services. being able to speak to Assistant Chief Jenkins and the other assistant pertaining to some of the cases that are going on, ongoing unsolved cases that are going on. We were able to talk to a variety of other people, behavior health. I forgot his name, but they were very instrumental in that meeting. And the families got to talk to the city manager, and the families got to open up about what was going on in some of their lives. So again, my hat goes off to the city manager for having that meeting, and Mr. Moore also. And again, Mr. Assistant Jenkins, I got to give you your kudos. But back to gun violence and unsolved murders. Contrary to the beliefs, some of the council people are, they've been put information out there that they're tired of us coming down here with these portraits. All I can tell you is get used to it, because I'm in it for the long haul. And it's a shame when you hear things of that nature. We'll come down here every second Tuesday and the last Tuesday of the month until we get some results. Families who have been affected by the gun violence have gotten, some help from a lot of the city officials, especially with Stephanie Morales. She's meeting with a lot of the parents. And like I said, Chief Jenkins, Assistant Chief Jenkins has played an intricate part in that. But my thing is, where are the programs? I seen a list where you guys appropriate a whole bunch of funds to a lot of organizations. But how do the parents get in contact with these organizations to receive any of the funds or receiving the access to whatever they're appropriating? Yeah, the services. I still don't know. And some of these organizations may do their own thing with passing turkeys and toys and the basketball. But if y'all giving that much money away to these people, the community should have access to this. But my people don't have access to it. If it's going to benefit them, especially pertaining to gun violence, from what a lot of these organizations say that's what they do, and we know that's not the truth. Another thing, what happened to Shot Spotter? What about happening to Operation Legend? What happened to these things? We talked about them, but we heard nothing else about it. I mean, these are things that are intricate in changing this thing around, but we haven't heard anything. And again, I may be talking ahead of myself, but if I don't hear nothing about it, I mean, I think I can speak about it. Another thing, what about you guys came here, y'all talked about Operation Legend with Chief Moore, and he gave a great spiel during a special council meeting, but nobody else heard anything. And it's ironic that we sit up here and say we want to stop gun violence and we want to stop all this stuff, but we don't have no lights, no cameras on the lights like Chesapeake and Virginia Beach do. And a lot of crimes have happened right at the lights, and we could have probably solved some of these murders. But again, I mean, I don't want to seem like I'm crazy, but what are we doing? It makes no sense. We talk about what we want to do and won't change, but there's nothing being done. So again, we got to stop making excuses. And the power to implement these things are in you guys' hands, man. And I can't say it enough. We need results. We need programs that yield results. If y'all are handing out money to these organizations, where are the results that they're proving that it's what they're doing is working? That's what I'm asking.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Councilman Battle, sir, you have the floor.
First of all, let me say to my friend, the grapevine is a terrible thing because you can hear quite a few things through the grapevine, but I don't know if any of the council persons up here have said the kind of rhetoric that you stated, which is we're tired of the ladies expressing their deep down brokenheartedness and the optimism for the future that things like that won't happen to other kids. So, you know, again, you can hear a lot of things through the grapevine, but it's not a right thing to do, accuse people who haven't said one thing
I have an email.
to you.
I have an email.
Well, I know I can speak for me that I've never said
I have an
anything
email.
like that. Well, I don't have your email address.
Well, I can send it to you.
Well, I didn't send anything
saying-
out that out.
I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. But you're surely welcome anytime. The council is always open to the citizens to come down. And if that did happen, let me apologize on behalf of the council. Again, you have the right, ladies, to come down here anytime you desire to express your feelings, okay? And I know you want the best for those kids who exist now. And though you grieve, you wish the best for everybody else. And I understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor Barnes.
I think you asked about Operation Legend from a news article that was put out. I don't think that was a program anymore. So that's probably why you haven't heard about it.
No, it was stated at the meeting. It was here.
Yeah, but after it came out in the meeting, a day later, news, Channel 313, one of them did a report saying that wasn't actually a program at all anymore. So that's probably why you haven't heard about it, because it doesn't exist.
So why did we come to the city council? Chief Moore did, right?
You know, people like to talk.
Sheriff Moore, I'm sorry.
Please let him finish his
Oh,
thought, and
yes,
then,
sir.
okay?
Yes, sir.
So we can all stay on.
I think in general, people like to talk and put out something as if you're doing something when you're not. I think that's what it came down to. But as far as the moms coming, I mean, we want to hear those stories, because at some point, if we continue to hear those stories, there's people up here that want to act, but it takes 4 votes, and maybe you can change some of those people who don't want to act and make this a really top priority, so that we can move to making a difference in these people's lives and doing the things that'll keep our kids alive.
Thank you, sir. And Councilman Moody, and then Councilwoman Lisa Lucasberg, and then Madam Manager, if you would. Go ahead, Councilman Moody.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Cradle, I think when it comes to preventing you bringing pictures here, I look forward to the day when you come here and you don't have any pictures. I think that would be a good sign that mothers aren't losing their daughters and sons to violence. And you don't need 4 votes from this council. I think I speak for everyone. There's 7 votes when it comes to preventing the loss of anybody's son or daughter. You did ask a question, though, and one of the questions was about ShotSpotter. I'll call on our city manager if there's any update on that, Ms. Jones.
There is. We're moving through the process. At this point, we're waiting on ShotSpotter, but the chief is here. He would probably have more direct information than I do, or we could provide it in a report back.
Maybe the chief can get with Mr. Cradle following the meeting, but you know what you do is touching. You gave me a picture of a friend of mine that unfortunately lost his life to an unsolved crime, and I think it's great that you care enough to do that, and keep coming. And like I said before, hopefully someday you won't have any pictures. You'll just be on a different, more pleasant subject. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. And Councilwoman Lucasberg.
Right, thank you, Mayor. Yes, Mr. Cradle, and I appreciate you coming every month, and I mean every meeting, second and fourth Tuesdays, to give us the information and the women. and men who have been here to support you as well. It was one of the things that I advocated for because I had spoken to a citizen and she wanted the women who were grieving and the men who were grieving to be able to get some immediate attention. And I, like my other colleagues, had asked for something, whether it was a roundtable discussion or some kind of forum. So I'm glad to hear that that was put in place and that you all have gotten some relief from that. Our city manager's done a great job with trying to reach out to the citizens and making sure that they get some tangible resources that's going to help them to get through the process. And my colleagues did speak on the shot spotter. In my one-on-one meeting with the city manager, we are looking for a report back, and of course, it's going to take some processes to go through the whole scenario of looking at it and how do we get into the process and how much are we going to spend on it and everything. So I'm sure Chief Prince will be able to give you a better update on that. And as far as that Legends program, it was a program that was under a former president's tenure, and it ended with President Joe Biden's tenure coming in. And it's not to say that that program isn't discontinued altogether. They just come up with a new name. One administration may call it Legends, but a new administration may come up with something similar and call it, a whole another name. So the process that you're working with our city manager and our chief of police are going to provide some opportunities for us to provide some other things. I think they had Red Bullet, something that they did in the city of Portsmouth that does a similar process of what the Legends, getting resources from other cities, other federal and state officers, different levels of public safety to come in and to look at that. So we're hearing you. We appreciate you coming. All of us working together is what it's going to take in order for us to come up with a solution. So applaud you and the women who are here with you tonight, and we want to keep hearing from you.
Thank you. Mr. Battles, sir, you have the floor.
I've mentioned this a couple of occasions, and I don't mention it enough, evidently, and I can't mention it enough. There's a program that Sheriff Waters runs that the city has financed for kids that are having problems. Let me urge all the citizens to please give Sheriff Waters a call, and he'll work with you in doing the best that him and the folk in that program, they have tutors, they have counselors, they have men who have lived life, and they're right there. So please, all of our citizens, give Sheriff Waters a call if you're having problems with your youth.
More.
Sheriff Waters.
Thank you. Councilman
The
Woodard,
undersheriff.
sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How you doing, Mr. Creedle? I think you're expressing the same sentiments that I have. I'm a very proactive person. I don't like to be reactive. And these same things that you express, I expressed in the meetings prior to this meeting, roadblocks, license plate readers, security cameras, speed bumps, right? Speed bumps are just small things that can, possibly stop, drive-bys or whatnot. It's just the little things that can one, solve murders or solve cold cases or just prevent things from happening. Everyone knows that I live in these communities and I give you a firsthand perspective on what can happen here, and once again, we're not gonna talk about this like this some third world country or whatnot. No, it's our community, and it's just insight on what's going on, and pretty much you just want everyone to have the opportunity to be safe, and I think that's all you're coming down here doing, advocating for everyone to be safe and for this pain to not transition to anybody else, and that's brave for you guys to come down here and initially advocate for something that you experienced and you don't want anybody else to experience. So, feel what you feel. I think early on the day we was just having a discussion about having access to these, like you said, these funds. Where's the information at? Where's the marketing at? I think we need to do a better job of that. Even if we got to put a table out in front of Family Dollar and let people know what's going on. How can you have access to some of these funds that we are dispersing throughout different programs and different departments? We got to figure this stuff out, and we may got to take it back on how we distribute information. Everybody's not online. Everybody don't come to the city hall. That's not how things. That's not how everyone lives. So we definitely got to do a better job of making sure that we are taking care of our community, because we all we got at the end of the day.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cradle and ladies, what I would like to say to you, I've been listening to you. I've been watching all of you. I've been praying and I've been paying attention. Words can't express, I can't express what you have lost. But I do know where I sit, and I only speak for me, and I hope that all my colleagues on council would agree with this. We are doing everything within our power to help you, and we will continue to do everything in our power to help reduce this gun violence. Let me give you an example. You said you needed to know what was going on. Well, we've started a program called Project Safe Neighborhoods. That may be one of the programs you were referring to. With that program, we have brought in the Assistant U.S. Attorney's Office and other stakeholders, law enforcement, but more importantly, we have brought in community stakeholders. We don't want to just carry the long stick necessarily, but we know, all of us in this city know who the bad actors are, or some of them. With this program, Project Safe Neighborhoods, which is a proven program nationally, it has been in place for quite some time, and it has a wonderful track record. The process is simply this. It takes time, and it is a gun violence reduction strategy, but it involves a lot of different players. For example, social services, behavioral health care services, education, job training, all of those things combined. When we identify those individuals that are causing the violence in our community, we will bring them in. That is how the program will work. And we will bring them in and meet with law enforcement. It will be mandatory. It will not be a will you please come in. We will identify them and we will ask them to come in. And when we ask them to come in, we're going to give them some real choices. What's your challenges? How can we help you to change your ways? And if you choose not to change your ways, because we're going to provide every resource for you to do so. If you make the conscious effort and choice not to do that, we're going to make sure that the full arm of the law is there to protect our community. Part of our primary responsibility as councilmen and as leaders that you all elected is public safety. And as I've said before, I'm going to be with you all till the end of my term and my time here, and I'll be with you beyond that. But we've all got to work together. Crime reduction is a shared responsibility, and I appreciate what you and all of you are doing to bring awareness and to share your stories. And I just hope, as Councilmember Moody said, it is my sincere hope and desire in the short term and ultimately in the long term, we have more celebrations of our children's success. And that will be when we know we're doing a better job. Thank you, sir. And Vice Mayor Barnes, sir, you have the floor.
I'm not going to keep you long. I did have a question. Mayor, you mentioned we started that program. I may have missed it, but when did we start that program?
Project Safe Neighborhoods started in January. The initial meeting started in January.
The program actually already started?
The program takes 6 months to implement. It's stages in the program, and we have already started those stages. Yes, sir.
Oh, so are we going to get briefed on that as council?
We will be briefed on it as council, but we haven't done all the meetings, but we will all be briefed on council.
Oh, okay. So to go back to what you were saying earlier regarding the programs that we're funding, I think everybody knows I'm a heavy proponent of funding some of these programs that's already in the community, but I'm also a heavy proponent of accountability. And with that being said, the programs that we have funded, can we get an overview of what they're providing and the success rate that they're having? Because I would like to see and learn about those things to see if we're funding the right organizations. And as far as it goes with, knowing the characters that may be involved in the crime or whatever the case, we may know them, and they may be bad people or whatever the case may be. But the problem is, even when we arrest them, it's going to be hundreds or more ready to take their spot. So until we change their circumstances and change the reason why they do it, when a murder happens today, when somebody goes to jail, the issue didn't start that day. It started when they was able to choose that lifestyle. So we have to prevent them from choosing that lifestyle. Until we do that, we will never make a serious bite out of the crime that we have.
Thank you, sir.
We just had an update on the program that I mentioned, I think it was last week. You were here, right? Oh, okay.
Mr. Mayor.
But you asked for an update. We had an update to that program. If you would like, I can go over it for you and refresh your memory.
Gentlemen,
let me assure you, Mr. Barnes, that no one citizen or person in this city can be with everything. And you have a large plate, and some things you're going to miss. Now, Mr. Waters was here last meeting, I think it was, and he was mentioning how 6 out of the 8 participants in the program have gone from bad grades to be average. The other 2 are passing. How they have stopped 2 shootings at this point. And this program's only been active a couple of months. When they report on that, I'll kind of hunt you and, so you can stay with it.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
This has nothing to do with the presentation. I want more clarity. I need more clarity, Mayor. You mentioned we have started Project Safe Neighborhoods. Who is the we you're talking about?
When I say we, it's inclusive of the city of Portsmouth. And we does not constitute me. We constitutes our gun violence reduction strategy, which is led by the city manager.
Okay,
I gave each of you a handout on Project Safe Neighborhoods to update you on what the city, we, were actually doing to implement that gun violence reduction strategy. In that proposal was a timeline of events that will take place. That is what I'm speaking from. So when I say we, it is inclusive, sir. It is not me. There is no me in we.
I never mentioned me. And,
Thank you.
And for the city manager, so is Project Safe Neighborhoods, is that a program that is being initiated by you?
Yes, I mean, it's actually being initiated by the police chief.
Okay, all right, because I just want to clear that council has never been updated or advised on Project Safe Neighborhood. Putting a presentation outline at dais is not updating council.
Right.
So I just want to make, that's why I wanted to make sure. When I said we, I just wanted to find out
Correct.
who is
It's being led by the police chief.
Okay.
It's at the initial stages, and we're waiting to get all the parties in place and get to a point where we can actually do an update.
Right, and that program really has more of an emphasis on recidivism.
Correct.
So I don't want to give any false impression that that's this major overhaul, and but it has been around for years, and we have seen crime in our cities still there, even with a Project Safe Neighborhood. So it's a recidivism issue, and it's not like you're just drawing people in.
Right.
So I just want to make that
But that's one of many programs that we're doing. And
Okay.
we will definitely schedule a future work session when we get out of budget
Okay.
to talk about where we are
Well,
with some of those initiatives.
Right, well, this is the first time I know I'm hearing that it is the
It's
chief's
the chief.
program, right?
Yes,
So,
it's a police chief
right,
program.
all right, thank you.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, can I say one thing before I leave out of here?
Absolutely, sir.
Unseen Tears has a advocacy group for the families and the mothers. We meet every third Wednesday of the month. So you can use that, and you get your guys' services where you can invite, if you got no families that are in need of counseling, we provide free counseling, and we provide support groups for the mothers free of charge. And I'll email the city manager the flyer and the information, because all I did is put whatever you put forth, I put it, implemented in what we do. So it benefits the city as a whole, and it doesn't cost nobody a dime.
Mr. Cradle, and thank you.
Can I ask them where is that?
Would you give us a location? And ma'am, you know, normally that's not our protocol, but since you're standing up there, we're gonna give you a chance to ask the question.
Okay, I did call it.
Okay, there's no, but if you'd like to ask a question.
The address is 3516 Winchester Drive. It's the Hope Church. It's a wonderful building. It's a wonderful community. It's a wonderful leadership. And again, it's absolutely free of charge for any family member who's experiencing gun violence. And I think one of our parents, Shannon Carmack, I think, I'm going to mix your name up, Shannon, her daughter was shot in the head. She lived, but she's attending. So it's just not about them dying, it's about them living also. So if you guys know anybody that needs some assistance in counseling and being around other mothers to in that grieving process, it's working, because we had our first meeting about 2 weeks ago, and it was wonderful. So again, thank you, City Manager, thank you, Assistant Chief Jenkins, Deputy Moore, and also I want to give a shout out to Stephanie Morales, who is actually speaking to our families.
Ma'am, go ahead.
My name is Helena Smith. I called in, so she really don't even have to call me off the road.
So, Ms. Smith, can I just say something?
Yes.
You're actually next on the list. So I don't want to slow you down, but I would like to hear everything you wish to say. So if we're done, if we could call you up next for you, or you all can stand behind her, but ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. I'm just sitting here listening.
Please come over to the microphone.
I'm just sitting here listening to everybody, and it doesn't seem like everybody is on one accord. And I say that because Mr. Whitaker doesn't know anything. Barnes he didn't know anything about it. And everybody's just like, wow. And I heard Mr. Moody went to a meeting as far as gun violence. Until this falls in your lap, like it has fell in mine, when my son was murdered. I had a granddaughter that was calling her father during the time that this happened. I had a grandson that tried to commit suicide twice. I have another granddaughter who does not want to do anything if her father is not involved. She don't want to run. She don't want a father-daughter dance. She don't want nothing, regardless of whether my other sons reach out to her or whether her grandfather reach out to her. She don't want to do it. I listened to him say that he has a program where he's taking some kids to, was it DIT? Or something, PIT? That's great. Come sit down and listen to some of these kids, please. Because once you heard their cry, every mother in here has a black hole that will never heal. I'm good today. Catch me tomorrow, I might be off the chain. But it never ends. It's a never-ending balance. Whether you convict the person that killed my son or not, I'm without him every day of my life. No mother wants to bury their child. But that day, when your child has been taken from you and you don't know why, and you don't understand why, then you'll know where we stand at. And I appreciate you with talking about the program you say you got going on. I'm like Mr. Whitaker. I ain't never heard nothing about it either. But hey, it's not for me to hear about. You guys say you're doing it.
I need to see it come to pass. It can't wait 5 months. This thing needs to start happening like this, because guess what? They're killing at the age of 12. They don't care. They starting at the age of 12. Where does a child at the age of 12 get an AK-47 from? Where? Please tell me. Because he can't go back. So somebody out here grown putting it in his hand that's making him think, and yeah, we got to look back at the parents sometime too. Somebody out here making them think, oh, we love you, we got your back, we got this, we got that. But as soon as that person is locked up, they ain't got their back. Like he said, they going on to the next one. It's going to continue to go. So, yeah, we do need street cameras. We do need lights on our street. We need lights out here. I just want to know why we got to wait 6 and 7 months for something to happen. Because mine is going on 4 years. I haven't even been to trial yet. And that hole is steady digging, which it'll never end. But that's okay, too. But I'm here to help another mother that has lost her child. I don't want to see her cry like I have. I haven't even really cried, really, because I'm too busy worrying about my grandbabies that are falling apart. Not just his kids, but my son's kids, and I'm watching it every day. When you have a 15-year-old that don't want to go in school and feel like she can't learn, because when she was born, she was 1 pound, and the doctor said her brain is like a brick, stuff gonna roll off, but Daddy had her on a roll. Daddy had her on honor roll. Daddy had her going. Can't anybody else do it for her, because it ain't Daddy. You guys can't fix that. But you guys can help heal that. You guys gotta listen. You guys gotta hear these kids. I would play a video for you, but I don't know if you even understand it. If you understand her cry. She's feeling like, G-Dog, you left me. What happened? I was calling you. It ain't like you to be out here that late. 2 weeks later, he was supposed to go on emergency statement, but it didn't work because somebody decided to take his life. So I can sit up here and listen to everybody say what they're gonna do. I need to come see it for. But he's gonna play the video.
There's too much pain. They don't understand me like you do. You forever in my heart and I miss you. I wish I could talk to you about my school days and what's going on with me. I want to hear your voice one more time. My heart is broken. Everybody be talking about their dad and how they spend time with their daddy. I wish I could do the same. I can't lie, I don't know what to do. I'm losing my mind. I'm trying not to give up. I'm so over everything. I'm done. I can't take it no more. All this pain gotta go. I just want my daddy back, even though he can't. My day has not been good. I'm so sad and just wanna cry. I know you want me to stay strong, but I can't. I'm sorry. All this pain, I can't take it. I need you, Pops. My siblings are hurting, and my baby sister, Giselle, will never get a chance to see our father. It is crazy how much I love you, but while we know you miss us, we miss you even more.
Her baby sister has never seen her dad because he was gone before she had a chance to even get in the world. So that's just my plea. And that's it.
We're so sorry for your loss, ma'am. Thank you. Councilman Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
You know, I'll say this once again. I continue to say it. I don't know how we don't move forward with this stuff, get quotes, any information on it. Like I said, I'm a lifelong citizen here in Portsmouth, and I like to be very proactive. And I'll say it again, we need cameras, license plate readers, speed bumps, time-to-time roadblocks. I say it all the time. Being from this community, you do a roadblock or a checkpoint, information spread like wildfire. Everybody get on their best behavior. All the mischief subsides for a while, and you probably can prevent some things from happening. You know, it's simple as that. You know, we got to start somewhere. We like you said, we can't, and I'm not trying to say that it's a 6-month thing, or we gotta wait a couple months. You know, I don't want to entertain that. I just want to know what we can do today. And I've been saying this for a while now, a couple meetings. We need to get started, and these are things that we can do. We can allocate funds to. We can put in our city so some of these cold cases could be solved with the correct evidence and the proper video footage, or the proper just evidence that helps some of this stuff. So we can't keep waiting on programs to evolve. Not to say that the Safe Neighborhood program can't be the solution that we need, but for the most part, we know that Operation Legend was a part of it, and it may need some restructuring. So, like I say, we can continue the efforts to implement that plan, but for the most part, we got to figure out what we can do today, and those are things that we can do today. Thank you.
Our last speaker is Mr. Robert Falk. Mr. Falk, sir, you have 5 minutes.
I'm homeless, but my mailing address is 2608 Hickory Street, 23707. 2-bullet ordinance. I'm trying to see if the city council can find a way to have the citizens of Portsmouth, or anyone that come to Portsmouth that carries a gun, reduce it down to 2 bullets. If they buy a gun in the city of Portsmouth, they can only buy 2 bullets. If anyone leave out their house or car and go in the grocery store, 2 bullets. The police officers should be allowed to have 3 bullets. If they want more, call more officers. 2 officers, 6 bullets. 3 officers, 9 bullets. 2-bullet ordinance is going to be difficult to implement. It's going to require a long conversation, but I think we could get there. But if we can reduce the amount of ammunition people have, it's no complaints about you taking my gun rights away, because they still have gun rights. And with 2 bullets, you got to make every shot count. And once a person suspend a bullet or have a spent bullet, in order to get another second bullet, it got to be proven where that first bullet went to, if we can implement the 2-bullet ordinance. I thought about this, and I'm still thinking about it, but I really believe we can get there if we reduce the amount of ammunition a person can have in their gun. And you know, after 2 bullets, you're gonna have to throw your gun and face your accuser. But 2 bullets, it don't sound rational. It probably don't sound like we can get there, but I think if we put our heads together, we can reduce the people that's in this city down to 2 bullets per firearm. But you're only allowed to bring out 1 firearm at a time. And if you violate the 2-bullet ordinance, you're gonna lose your gun rights. And if you violate it a second time, it should be a higher penalty. And I heard what Mr. Bader was saying about the children that's out there doing most of the shooting, and we know that's because a lot of parents got locked up, mainly behind drugs. But when you take a lot of dads out of a house, you really destroy that very small community. And the children is boys anyway, not really gonna follow mothers. And if they get an opportunity to get a gun to deal with the situations most of them deal with without a father in the house that they can't go home and talk to or whatever, they're gonna pick up a gun. It's a lot of guys in the neighborhood, they got a gun for a young buddy that want one. But if we can reduce them down to the amount of ammunition, we might can stop a lot of the shooters, at least cut it down anyway. And I don't know how we're gonna get there. I just think it's something that needs to be discussed, see if it can be implemented in a kind of way. But just 2 bullets. 2 bullets is enough for a person with their gun to make a point. And I don't know what they'll do about what's in their home. If a guy can shoot his 2 bullets and run back home and shoot 2 more, but if he got to go home and get 2 more bullets, he might not come back. We might can thwart a possible murder or homicide or something, or just a shooting. And I didn't need 5 minutes to come up here to put that forward. I just been thinking about it and thought I wanted to come here and actually propose that very tough thing to implement to the council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Falk. Seeing no additional business for council consideration, this meeting is adjourned. Good evening.